GG Poker Associate Poker OK just made a huge move and we need to talk about it. It is going to affect all players on all platforms and we have to cover this. It's pretty wild. For all of you that don't know, there's this thing called poker stables. And what a stable is essentially a bunch of people get together, they pool their money. They often have resources like coaches and then a bunch of money and then a bunch of organization and things like this. And what they'll do is they'll find talented players and they'll stake them, meaning that they'll put up the money as the investment and they'll split the profits, often 50-50. But if a person, say, loses $10,000, they're in what's called makeup. They have to then make back the $10,000 before they can get to the 50-50 profit share. So that's essentially what a stable is. They're all over the place. If you've played online MTTs or even online cash games, you've almost certainly played against a lot of people who have been part of poker stables. I've been invited to coach in a bunch of them myself, and I almost started my own one, but we ended up parting ways. And it's been such an integral part of the poker ecosystem for such a long time. To have Poker OK, which is essentially the Russian version of GG Poker, say no stables whatsoever is a really big move. And if that's then gonna proliferate out into the rest of GG Poker and maybe the rest of the poker world, because GG Poker is the #1 platform in the world for poker right now, that's ginormous. So let's dig into exactly what they said. Before you watch the rest of the video, and trust me, it's worth watching, let me just give you a brief value proposition of Elite University, because the prices are about to go up on May the 1st. So if you want to lock in the price for lifetime, now's the time to do it. We are running daily coaching sessions, multiple daily coaching sessions, super cheap. Currently you're paying $77 a month for something like, I think it's like 80 to 90 coaching sessions a month. Think about that. You're paying less than $1, and this is with high stakes professional poker players. It's with our community. It's with mid stakes players. It's with high stakes MTT, high stakes cash game. Plus you get 200 hours of coaching content from yours truly. Plus you get the Discord community. It is such an insane value proposition, and that's why my team and I have decided to put up the price so we can pay people. But trust me, it is really worth it. So you have less than a month now to get the final price locked in for lifetime. I could sell all of these things for thousands of dollars, but I hope you can understand I'm trying to make it open to as many people as possible while still being a financially viable business. Back to the video. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in eliteuniversity.com. In a Telegram post that Poker OK put out, they said, "Dear Poker OK players, we've been monitoring and collecting information about the activities of certain funds and poker schools, the so-called stables, which we have noticed using unlawful trading practices and violating the rules of the platform. Organizations of this type systematically violate the rules of our platform. We are talking about team play, soft play, collusion, ghosting, bum hunting, multi-accounting, and mining of databases." It's funny that we agreed that bum hunting was just going to be the colloquial term for this. It's just when a professional is just only sitting down when a whale sits down. And it really is kind of annoying for the online ecosystem. So team play, pretty obvious what that is. Soft play, that's when two people of the same stable will be playing soft against each other in a tournament. If you have two people on the final table and they get aces and kings and then suddenly they both slow play and they lose the minimum or win the minimum, it happens more often than you might think. Collusion, if you know English, you know what that is. Ghosting is when somebody will be sitting behind another poker player, or they'll be on a call and they'll be playing for other people. Everyone that I know, maybe like 7 years ago, was ghosting, and now it's a lot more like, oh, okay, that's not okay. Just like 15 years ago, before I played poker, multi-accounting was apparently just everybody did it, and now the Overton window of what's acceptable has changed and a bunch of people got punished for it. Bum hunting, I just explained. Multi-accounting, hopefully you can figure that one out for yourself. Mining of databases means that when you collect a lot of data on players, and notes and strategies, you could have hundreds of millions of hands of data, and then sharing that amongst the stable gives people a really unfair advantage, in my opinion at least. It goes on to say, stable activity is hands down the greatest threat to the purity, integrity, and equality of poker today. I think it's probably bots, but okay. And GG's had their own problems with super users recently. That's pretty big as well. Distortion of the balance, erosion of trust in the community, unfair advantages. Stables become an absolute evil, killing the very essence of poker. We are starting an active struggle. We have this might be translated from Russian. It does sound a little bit goofy, doesn't it? We have a huge database of accounts of stable participants, and we will do everything possible to prevent such organizations from existing and developing in Poker OK. We intend to strictly protect the game atmosphere we have created, one where every participant can feel comfortable, secure, and play for fun. We have already introduced restrictive measures. We have no illusions regarding the positions of the owners of the stables and are ready to blackmail them. I assume that's a mistranslation. That's a wild thing to say if that's what it really said. We have taken the path of protecting our players from the harmful influence of stables and maintaining a healthy gaming ecology. We do everything to preserve the inviolable right of poker players to play fairly in our favorite stream. So it's actually a lot deeper than this seems, and there's a lot more to it, so we'll dig into the story. Now, somebody who I really respect in the poker world is Patrick Leonard. And by the way, Patrick Leonard has the #1 poker content on Instagram I've ever seen. Go watch his Instagram stories. It's so unbelievably fun to watch him play MTTs on his Instagram. He's one of the goats of the poker world, and he really is a man of little words when it comes to Twitter and X and all of these things. And when he says something, I always tend to listen. Let's look at some of the bigger things that he says. So one of the things that Patrick Leonard said, and I've heard a lot of other people say, is that a representative of Poker OK has specifically gone out and said, not only do we not want people playing in stables, but we don't even want any winning players in poker. Now, this is crazy. If that is something, and I haven't been able to confirm it, but I've got multiple people saying that he said this in a Russian site, in a rant. If he said this, which it seems like he definitely did, to say that you don't want any winning players in a poker ecology, and the idea would be it would help grow the poker ecology, and that it'd be like a casino game in a sense where everyone's losing a little bit. That to me is insane. That's insanity. You can't have the dream of poker, which is to go from zero to hero, rags to riches, which I did, and I know a ton of people that did. If you don't have that dream, poker's dead. It's just another gambling sport, you can call it. I know people get mad when you say sport, but whatever the word you want to use, it's just it'll just be another casino game where nobody's winning. It's so pointless. One of the reasons that this really detriments the point that they're making about banning stables is that if he's coming from this point of view, it really doesn't seem like it's with the right intentions. Something that Pads does, and Pads, for transparency, he owns maybe the biggest poker stable that exists right now. So what Pads does is he gives it back and forth, and he essentially gives some solutions as well. Again, if you want to read the full post, please do look at his comment in the link in the description. And Pads, for all transparency purposes, he owns a stable. But he's still saying, hey, here are the issues that the stables are presenting, and here are some solutions that, maybe we can keep the stables intact, but maybe they need a lot of extra transparency if they're going to be involved. Maybe as well, if there's going to be staking, it needs to be done publicly like GG does on their platform. I think it's a pretty cool idea. In general, my position is like, if stables are the biggest cheaters, or let's say even like 5% of stables out there are cheating in this really big way, it seems okay to want to disintegrate them if you're a platform like GG Poker. Like imagine if you're playing an MDT tournament, if you're playing a tournament and you're playing these high rollers, and you know that there's this one stable of, let's say, Brazilians or Russians or whatever, and you see that there's 10 of them in the same tournament that only has 50 players, then and I'm sure this happens, and I'm sure it happens to a larger degree than most people think. It's so tilting, it's so annoying to know that these people are going to be colluding, card sharing, they can run a crazy bluff because this guy folded the ace of hearts on a 3-heart board, and he tells his friends, or that they should get it in aces versus ace king, but they ended up slow playing for some reason. It means that you just have less equity in the pool. So even if it's only 5-10% of stables that are doing this, I can actually see a pretty good reason, and I gave a statement to one of the representatives that reached out to me, that they would want to disintegrate the stables. And as wild as it sounds, people are still going to find ways to make a living. People are still going to play, but cheating in online poker is rampant. It's probably at an all-time high at the moment, and making some huge moves truly punish the players that are going to be cheating, I think is probably in the longevity of poker's best interest. And sometimes if you're going to be making these huge moves, just like ACR did with this 100k scandal bot creation thing, the biggest PR punt I've ever seen in my life, by the way. Even if you are going to be making huge moves, you are going to be making some mistakes. And it's understandable if they go a little bit too far in some certain areas. If the intentions are good, it is nice at least to see part of GG Poker taking this seriously, taking cheating seriously, because for too long have people just been getting away with all of these things that we're talking about here, and for too long there haven't been enough repercussions. So really cutting down, banning their funds if they're caught doing it, like having severe punishments where they're publicly outed that they've been cheating, things like this, I think is really necessary at this point. Something that's worth mentioning here is that the representative of Poker OK, he said that GG Network has been defending the interests of amateurs exclusively. Now, this is a really, really strong statement, and this, in my opinion, is like an essential verbal warfare against professional poker players. And if we've ever seen and learned from the past, like when poker stars took these really hardcore stances against the professionals and the idea of the longevity of the ecology, because there is this thing, if you run a poker site, you want more whales and fish and lads, or whatever you want to call them, bunnies as Tony G calls them. You want these people on your site because then they're giving money back to the ecology instead of taking loads of money and taking loads of money and taking loads of money. And you want more people to be spreading the wealth, and you want people to be a little bit more equal in edge, so there isn't just some huge winners that are just continuously taking money off the site. So it's in their best interest to have recreational players, but what we should have learned from PokerStars is that when you punish the professionals for winning at the game that they are professionals in, things go sour very quickly. And this is exactly what we saw with PokerStars when they increased the rake is better meme came from that. And also when they literally stole money. I speak about this as often as I can, even on PokerStars streams when I was working with True Geordie, I was still saying this. They literally stole money from players. They had this scheme, they had this promotion. It was called the Supernova and Supernova Elites promotion, and it was a 2-year thing. The idea was in the Supernova Elite program and the Supernova program is that if you played a certain amount of hands and got a certain amount, paid a certain amount of rake for this year and the next year, so a 2-year scheme, there was going to be a significant amount of rake back, and people grinded all year just to get this. And for some people, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars of rake back that they were promised. And then PokerStars just cut it, and they cut the second year. I was Supernova. I didn't lose. I probably lost like 5-10K. I wasn't too upset. I know people that really, really lost a lot of money there. And they'd been grinding all day, every day for months on end just to get it. And PokerStars got away with it. But at the same time, they kind of didn't, because PokerStars is, at least online, it's a dying breed in comparison to back then when it was definitely the number one. It was almost a monopoly. So something I think is really important for these sites to understand. And from what I understand, I've met the founder of GG Poker, he knows this. And Poker OK, although it's an extension of GG Poker, it is a third-party entity. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of behind-the-scenes things, a lot of issues, a lot of fights, a lot of arguments and meetings that people are going to be aware of very, very soon if they're not already in the GG Poker industry. But yeah, when I spoke to the founder, he really understood that the players needed to come first, and not just the recreational players, but also the professionals. So I will say, even though this is really annoying for Russia, and I know a lot of Russians specifically because of the war in a really, really dicey spot financially, not many other places to go to get jobs and things like this, it is going to be really devastating for a lot of people to have their stable taken away from them. At the same time, I can understand the argument against stables specifically. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see where it goes from here. And if you have any back and forth that you want to get into in the comments about whether you think this is good, whether you think this is bad, please do get in some friendly debates. Don't get too negative. It's a little bit too cliche to be negative to other people online and hateful and all these things. But if you can do it in a loving, compassionate, or even dispassionate and articulate manner in the comments, let me know what you think. And until then, I will see you soon, beautiful people. Peace.